So combining the two.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. And this is where there's a lot to kind of think about. And I always start with strategy and planning ahead. And you can strategize at any point in your wherever you're at in your sort of content journey. You can always plan ahead for how you want to evolve. But a big part of that is drawing out the architecture. Keep in mind the integration points to the other systems, to the other platforms that you want to use. And are we going to add things on later? Are we happy with all the different components that we use? What do we want it to look like? Who's our team? All that stuff goes into strategy. Spend some time on that and draw it out, and have someone own that, which is really important. That's in your organization, not outsourced. That's really important.
Yeah, and always assume it's going to change, right? So, like you said the comment there, are you going to add any more systems down the road? Just assume you are. Just go with that mentality because you future proof it automatically mentally by thinking
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and you don't have to, and everything doesn't have to be separate. Sometimes you're going to combine a system too, like that's going to change. And so this point is about knowing your stack. And so like we talk about the set of platforms that you use, I think of that as kind of a stack. You've got, almost everyone has like marketing automation for sending out emails and CRM, and everyone's got CMS and, search analytics. Understanding how those work together and what the job is of each thing that you're paying. Like you're paying for all these different things. What is the job that it's doing? How is it benefiting your business? And what do you use now? And what will you be adopting later? Maybe now you're on Pipedrive and you're going to switch to, like we did, we switched to HubSpot. Maybe you're going to switch to Salesforce. Everyone's kind of on a journey for these things, or maybe you're on a different version of something. Who knows? Understanding what that is allows you to stay modular so that if you want to like pull something apart, then you can do that much more easily if you understand the sort of the services and function of each platform.
Yeah, I really like your comment there where you mentioned the role of
Yeah.
each system. And you can kind of think of it as a whole team of all the employees working together. Each person has their role of what they do within the organization. Your system should be defined well as well. So if you have a marketing automation and you have a CRM, which one is responsible as the primary for the contact record, right? Just thinking about that. So what's the role of each system, and define that clearly, because it'll really, really define how you integrate things, who becomes the primary, those type of things like that.
Yeah, and that now leads into the third point, which is about staying abstract. So services don't necessarily, and platforms don't necessarily need to know about each other. And in some cases, you don't want them to. I want my CRM to kind of operate as a CRM. And the data that's in there, maybe I want to use that somewhere else, or push data from my website into there. That's fine. They don't need to know about each other too much. And then it kind of begs the question, well, how does it connect if they don't know about each other? Something needs to act as an orchestrator. A lot of the times this can be like your front end code that is attached to sending, obviously you need to know where to send things, but something should be acting as an orchestrator that's not just a development tool. And I think that a lot of the times, like agility ends up being that, like as a CMS kind of sits in the middle of a lot of platforms. There are also like full-blown orchestration systems that are coming out now to allow folks to kind of combine different platforms together, and they literally just call themselves orchestrators, which I think is going to be a big part of the composable strategy moving forward.
100%. And you can tell that we stay abstract from our title, the way we spell content architecture. I want to call that one out. I saw that one.
Oh my goodness.
So we spelled wrong there. So just an abstract way to kind of look at things, and Joel's going to tweak it right now as we're live.
Sorry. Oh, I had a major thing redo. Oh my God, that's embarrassing.
There we
go.
That's awesome. So jumping into bullet point 4, though, keeping things interoperable is critical.
I was worried about spelling interoperable properly on here.
Yeah.
And I think, big part of this, we've talked about this a few times before. Actually, this is a big part that was in some bullet points later, like hidden in some notes and some previous slides that I wanted to bring forward. And this is about the idea that sort of all of these composable platforms are all API driven, but standards are emerging for how those APIs work and sort of higher level concepts on top of those to allow them to work together more easily. A lot of platforms have like marketplaces and apps that are on top of them, which are kind of like how plugins used to work, but they're more standards based. And so that allows you to plan for growth. You want to use more standards-based systems that already have like connectors or some kind of apps that connect them together. That's always a good idea, because the services that are provided by these platforms are not all the same, and they're not all like everything that has an API doesn't mean it's going to be a good member of our composable platform.
Yeah, and this gets really tricky because if you look at a lot of the systems that you want to compose together, every system is trying to differentiate a little bit, right? So you look at the CMS space that we're in, every CMS has its differences that it's trying to highlight and differentiate on. And does that break interoperability, right? Or does that add some more things that you have to do something different to connect with? I know we have a bunch of other things like routing and pages and different objects and things that a lot of other headless CMSs do not have. So how does that work if you want to move to our solution or move off of our solution? And how does that interop with other platforms and things like that that kind of fill that hole of that void? And so that's where you really need to work with that, bullet point number one there, which is that strategy and planning ahead and looking at, what is the role of that system? And is that system doing multiple roles where, if you swap it out down the road, maybe the new system only does a certain part of that role. So defining the roles of those systems is really key to understand how they interop and what they need to communicate back and forth and how they work together.
100%.
So by doing that, by combining content architecture and composability,